primates. Links to the video we react to today are in the description below. Also be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, as well as hit the little bell to be notified whenever we go live or put out new content. It really helps us out. Thank you so much. Enjoy the show.
I'm a local truck driver.
So this is 6 true unnerving horror stories animated by MJV Animations. Go drop him a like, go drop him a sub. The animation's already been shared on Discord, so go check that out. Play!
For a common grocery
Alright, Normal, you
store
better scare me here. I better freaking, like, poop my pants scared.
I stay in the same 50-ish mile radius.
Oh, I already am scared. You see that bro's mustache? That's a scary mustache. I don't know if I trust this man.
Drive between the warehouse and several stores every day to deliver pallets of groceries. I don't have to make any drives more than 2 hours long, so every night I get to go home at a reasonable time and sleep in my own bed, rather than at a truck stop, like most cross-country or regional truckers have to.
I got someone in my family who does that.
This day was pretty average, going between a few stores and delivering the pallets, and I got to my last delivery location around 9. It took a half hour for them to empty the trailer, but then I was good to head back to the warehouse and turn in for the night. This was always the farthest drive though, being that the warehouse was on the edge of the city, away from everything. An hour into the drive, and about when I reached 15 minutes away, I pulled into a gas station to fill up, as I'd been riding on empty for probably too long. I went into the diesel section and started
that's just a bad truck driver. You can't let it go on empty, bro. What do you mean? It's a business.
I leaned against the truck and waited. I saw a group standing outside of a parked pickup truck on the other side of the gas station. They were the only ones there, but they kept eyeing me, looking over at both me and my truck.
Well, that's your first clue to get the freak out.
I thought they were just waiting for me to leave.
Nah, son, that's your first clue. They're about to jump you and steal all your freaking stuff. You better drive the frick out of there.
Probably so they could do something stupid without any bystanders. Once my truck was full,
that or they want whatever's in the back of your truck. They don't know it's empty.
Gas station. As I did, the group got into their pickup and left as well, pulling up right behind me. Now it was definitely more than just odd. I still didn't know exactly what they were planning to do, but they weren't even trying to hide it. Over the next mile, as we got further out toward the edge of the city, they kept swerving around behind me, going in and out of the lane, and unable to keep a consistent speed. I got my phone from the mount and called the police to report the group for reckless and possibly drunk driving. Being in a huge semi, I didn't feel unsafe, but I was more worried for anyone else that may be on the road. After a couple more minutes though, they swerved into the lane next to me and sped up until they were right across from my window. I looked down at them, seeing a few guys looking at me.
There's your first problem. Never look at them. You pretend like you don't know that they're there, you ignore them, and you keep driving.
And saying something to the others. Then they sped up again and slammed on the brakes right in front of me. I had no choice than to brake as well, stopping just before ramming into them.
Nah, son, that's called getting robbed. You keep driving and you freaking that is their fault for stopping. That is no longer your fault. You freaking hit them if you have to. Screw it.
As soon as I did, all the doors swung open and 4 of them came
pedal to the metal, fool!
My truck, trying to open the doors and get in. I immediately went in reverse, trying to put some distance between us before I put it back in drive. My only choices were to take a chance at driving off the road, which might make my trailer topple over.
Yeah, it's not a choice.
Or I could ram through their pickup.
That is the choice. You have a ginormous freaking 18-wheeler.
I went straight through their truck. All 4 of them ran off the road just before I hit it, and after 30 seconds, I was long gone.
You should have done that from the start, though, to be honest.
Police had shown up to the scene, finding their pickup on the side of the road, and all 4 of them standing by it. As the officer put it, they were all intoxicated, but not willing to cooperate in explaining what they were doing. Whatever they were trying to do, It was pretty scary having 4 drunk and aggressive guys trying to break into my truck.
They were trying to steal whatever was in the
Although
back
it
of the
all
truck. How are
happened
you
so
not
fast,
getting that?
And maybe doesn't seem that bad.
They didn't know it was empty.
I think if I'd not acted so quickly, it easily could have escalated to something truly awful. But there's really no way to know what could have happened.
Real thing though, real thing actually.
I was driving back from a
That's pretty much
friend's house who
that's pretty
lives
much
an
typically
hour
how they try to
away.
rob those 18-wheelers. They
We
just sort of
lost
put a
track
car to
of
block them in the
time,
front and then
so
try
I
to get
didn't
them.
leave until around 2
They have some
a.m.
other people just jump out and try to grab them.
I was really tired, and the
You gotta be
drive
careful. That's a legitimate tactic that a lot of people do, is where they'll just like stop the car in front of you and just have their friends pop out. And let's be fair, if that happens and people start approaching you, it's fair game. I'm running them over. I don't give a fudge.
really
It's over.
boring.
You are literally
Most of the
just
way
freaking
home
a
was
splatter on the
long,
pavement as far as I'm
straight
concerned now.
that didn't seem to have a
Nah,
single
son.
other car on it. For the first 20 minutes, it was just me staring at the endless pavement ahead and trying to not let my eyes shut. But then my headlights suddenly lit something up on the road, way ahead of me. I couldn't tell what it was at first, but as I got closer, I had to slow down and eventually stop. There was a semi-truck parked in the middle of the road, blocking both lanes. I sat there for a few seconds, having no clue what I was seeing. At this point on the road, we were at least 30 minutes from town, and there was nothing out here. The only reason anyone would stop out here is if there was an emergency. I looked to the right of the truck, and there might have been enough room for me to get around the trailer, but there was a steep hill on the shoulder that would have been really risky to drive on the edge of. The other side of the truck had trees too close together for me to drive between. After being there for a whole minute,
you turn it and take a different
this had to be an emergency, and that
highway.
my best and maybe only option was to check up on them.
No,
I
you
got
call
out
the
of my
police
car
first.
and began walking up to the front of the trailer.
And you tell them if there's a vehicle
I
freaking
remember how
parked
quiet
sideways
it
on the
was
road.
outside, like
And
the
tell them where
night
you are.
was completely still and empty. As I got up to the front
I was just asking to get
realized
mugged.
the light was on in the driver's cabin. I went up to the door and lightly knocked on it, then called out, asking if they were okay.
Hey, you alright?
The window was way too high up to see through,
You're
so
not
I
jerking
couldn't
it in
really
there, are
see
ya?
anything from the ground. After a few seconds, there was still no response. I called out again, but there wasn't even the sound of any movement inside.
Hey, quit porking it in there. Get out
My
here.
gut was telling me that something was seriously off about this. I looked down the road ahead.
Your
then
gut
back
told
at
you
the
that,
road I
bro. My
came
brain
from,
told me that a
seeing
minute
nothing
ago.
but fog in the distance, which only reminded
If not
me
an hour
how
ago.
far away I was from anyone else. I grabbed the side of the door and lifted myself up onto the steps, then looked inside the window. There was stuff scattered everywhere, almost looking like they'd crashed or something, and making the whole cabin a total mess. But nobody was inside. Then I noticed the door on the other side was wide open. I stepped back onto the road and began walking around the truck to investigate the open door, but was stopped in my tracks when I saw a man in the forest walking up the side of the hill. He was tall, with shoulder-length hair, and had a very disheveled appearance. "Hey man, are you okay?" The man didn't look at me.
You
but
get in the
continued
car.
coming up from the forest and
You
onto
get in
the
your car
road.
and you...
In the faint light coming from my headlights, I saw dark red stains all around his clothes, and his face was covered in dirt and grime. Thinking he was clearly not okay, I offered to help, but he continued to not even acknowledge me. That was until I said I could call 911 for him. He immediately stopped walking and shot a look at me, holding eye contact for a few long seconds.
What's with his eyeballs?
"I'm fine,"
He looks
said
blazed out of his
in
mind,
a deep,
bro.
threatening tone. I stopped talking and watched him get into the truck, Then I rushed back to my car as the truck started driving away. I turned around and drove right back to my friend's house, where I called 911 and gave every detail I could remember.
Bro, I hope you got a license plate.
Unsurprisingly, the case never went further than that. What happened on that road is still a mystery, one that still terrifies me. The way the truck was stopped, being sideways, and with the cabin looking as chaotic as it did, I think something, or someone, forced them to stop. What happened afterwards is debatable, but the man I saw probably wasn't the original truck driver, and I think we can all assume what likely happened in the forest below the road.
With that little flash to the freaking guy.
I worked at Papa John's for a
Bro
couple
looks like a
years at the
freak.
end of
Bro
high
looks like
school
he's
and
tweaked
the beginning of
out.
college.
Papa John's. Is that him? Is that Papa John?
Sometimes helped with
He's
cleaning
got a
and
gut.
stuff because I worked nights.
He's got a Papa gut. He's got the dad
This
bod.
was my normal 4 to 11 shift on a slow weekday. By 10, we weren't getting any orders, so we started cleaning and preparing.
Bro, that's
for
how you know this
closing,
story is fake. What
so
do you
we
mean?
could
At 10
leave
o'clock
right
is
at 11.
exactly the perfect time to order
But
pizza.
At 10:45, the store phone started ringing.
See?
I let my manager pick it up, and from hearing what he was saying, I knew someone was placing an order. Despite my shift ending in 15 minutes, I still had to deliver the order, so I was visibly annoyed. I waited for the pizza
son,
to
quit
be
your
ready,
job right then and
then
there.
left just before 11. The address wasn't too far, I think just under 10 minutes away, but when I got there, I was a little bit confused. There was a long driveway going into the trees, but I couldn't see any houses or lights at the end. I looked back at the map, zooming in and seeing that there was a house. It was just really far down. I turned onto the driveway and put my brights on. After the first part that connected to the main road, it became a gravel path and was honestly hard to follow because it was thin and the trees were really close to the sides. Eventually it opened up a bit, and across a small field was
Bro, this is one of those. At this point, I would have just called my manager like, hey, it was a prank call. I can't get there. I'm out. Done. Turning back
old
around.
wooden house. It was too big to be a cabin, but it definitely was giving off that middle-of-the-woods cabin-type feeling. There wasn't
And this
exactly
is an
a place
actual
to
address
park,
they gave you
so
to
I
go
just
to?
stopped in the gravel and got out. A few of the outdoor lights were on, but they were not bright at all, and most of the woods surrounding the area were completely dark. I started walking up to the door, hoping to do this quickly because something was starting to make me feel off about this place. I got up to the porch, and just before I knocked, I heard something behind me. It was leaves crunching in the woods near the gravel driveway that I'd just come from. I looked out there for a second, but it was too dark to see anything, so I turned back and knocked on the door. While I waited, I looked back at my car, wishing I'd left the keys inside so the headlights would stay on. Even from the
Good
porch,
point.
it was hard to see any more than just a small glare coming from the plastic reflectors. The rest of
that
the
sucks.
car
So
was
it's like
not
pitch black for
visible,
him.
falling past
Basically.
the dim light coming
Why
from the
didn't you leave your
house.
lights on? I feel like you don't even need the car to be on, do you?
I heard footsteps inside. Then the door opened. It was an old man with short black hair and glazed over eyes.
What the frick is Thanos doing here?
Pizza order for you, I said, holding out
Bro's
the
got
box.
like 25 wrinkles in his chin.
There was a slight pause.
Also,
before
his
the man
scar moved from the
slowly
right
reached
to the
out and
left.
took it, looking me in the eyes the whole time. He set it
See, the
down
scar's on his
the
right
table
eye
next
now. It
to
was on his
him
left.
And got his wallet out. Slowly
Now it's
counted
back
out
on his
some
left eye.
cash.
Why does the scar
Then I
keep
heard
changing
it
spots?
again.
What the frick?
Leaves.
Bro,
crunching
bro's a
behind me.
magic demon. You gotta escape. He's
I looked
definitely
over
a
my
demon.
shoulder
He keeps
toward
changing
my
the scar on
car
his face.
Where I heard it coming from. but just when I thought
It's
I
back
might
on the
have
right
seen
eye!
something, the man grabbed my shoulder. "Here, for you," he said, holding
Take the
out
money,
some
you prick!
cash.
I got more demon
I
faces
took
to
it,
change.
then quickly looked back at my car, but didn't see anything. And a few seconds later, I was shaken by the man slamming the door behind me.
Well, yeah, he's trying to give you
Before
the money
leaving
for
the
his freaking
porch,
pizza and
I
you
got
keep
my
looking
phone
behind
out
you.
and turned the flashlight on, then hurried back to my car, shining the light in all directions, but not seeing anything. I got in and made a small U-turn, then drove out of there. My unsettling feelings stayed with me the whole drive back, and after clocking out, I did a quick walk around of my car. For the most part, everything looked okay, but once I got a closer look, I noticed some scratches near the passenger door handle that I didn't remember being there before. I couldn't verify anything though.
Bro, I had a
and even if I
raccoon trying to get into
could,
his car.
I don't think there's really
The penguins in
anything I could
Madagascar were
do.
trying to take off. They were trying to steal your car.
But I think someone was out there in the woods, trying to get into my car without me knowing. Maybe it was all just a setup. I can't really say for sure, but if they had gotten in, there's a chance they would have hid in the back seat and waited for me. What would happen after that is best left unknown.
My question is, what would they have accomplished doing that? Like, what? Were they going to steal all your money? What do they gain from that?
In 2018, I went through a divorce that left me basically without anything. I managed to move into a small
Welcome to
home,
California!
but I had nothing to fill it with. I needed furniture, appliances, literally
I'm
everything.
sorry, what the frick is with those eyes?
This is a
You
big
look like...
task to take on, especially financially. So I thought this was the perfect opportunity to get
Something about the face being so realistic, but the eyeball, like, popping out of his eye socket?
On Craigslist. My priority was on the
That
big
looks better.
things, like a couch, TV, and so on. And it really didn't take long to find some deals. I messaged a few people and picked up a few things, and during this process, I found and contacted a seller about buying their TV stand. It was posted for $40 and looked like a super average wooden TV stand. The seller, Matt, was very strict on when I could pick it up though. It had to be
the first
after
problem
9
is you're
because
buying
of his
used
work
furniture.
schedule, and it couldn't be on the weekend.
You don't buy
This
used furniture, you
timeframe
pick it
still
up off the
worked for
side of the
me,
street when they
but
throw
I
it
just
out.
found it kind of odd how specific he was, and I figured that was probably why no one had bought it yet. I agreed to pick it up on a Wednesday at 9:30.
That being said, I am the kind of person that buys things online like this, like on either like on eBay, Offra, Craigslist, stuff like that. I've done that before, where I do like a peer-to-peer like sort of purchase or whatever. The moment you give me any inconvenience, and I'm talking if I'm like, hey bro, I got this time, I can pick it up around here. I can go this time, this time, this time, this time, this time. I always give a bunch of examples. I'm available at least for a little bit every single day of the week. Roughly for about an hour or so, you know? So I'm like, hey, like, I can pick it up these times. Let me know what day works best for you, and I can pick it up at that time. Or if you need something late in the evening or early in the morning, like, you let me know what needs to be work. If you're like, oh no, you can only pick it up during this time and this time on a Tuesday, on a this, and it has to be with this, and you gotta blah blah blah. It's like, all right, then you forget. I'll buy something. I'll get something else. You have yourself a good day. I'm sure you'll find someone who can work with that. Goodbye. I can't deal with it.
I followed through. He sent me his address, and I headed out 30 minutes to his place.
You know what I mean? I don't move around my schedule because you got your shiz all uppity and not organized.
Most of the homes were run down and very old. Even the roads were in bad shape, with a lot of the streetlights not even working.
Oh, they're like moldy.
Pulling up to Matt's house didn't make me feel any better.
What is this, Detroit?
It was just as run down looking as the others, with only what looked like a hallway light on inside. And walked onto their porch, ringing the doorbell. As I waited, I looked around at his lawn. He had stuff everywhere, like garden statues and just interesting decorations all throughout his yard, and even on the porch.
He probably sells a bunch of stuff,
Then
like on
he
Facebook.
opened the door. Matt was a tall, skinny-looking man.
Why does he
probably in
look
his
like?
40s.
Why does he look like the
He had a
freaking thug
tired
from
look,
Smiley
as if he
Friends?
hadn't slept in days, and I could smell booze from his breath as he welcomed me inside.
Why
If I'd
would you
known
go inside?
beforehand that
What?
this was who I'd be buying from, I never even would have come here. But it was too late for that now.
Nah, bro,
As
you
we walked
bring
down
this
the
shit. I tell
hall,
him, bro, bring
there
this
was
thing
stuff
out to me.
scattered
You
all
gotta at least
around
take
the
it out your house. I'm not going into
Not
your
to
house.
the
Screw
point
that.
like a hoarder's home you'd see on TV, but more like an abandoned house that had been trashed by random teenagers. When we got to the living room in the back of the house, he pointed at the TV stand. The room was barely lit, making it hard to see what condition it was in.
It looks broken.
Any chance you could turn on the light for me? I asked politely.
Light don't work.
Matt didn't respond, but walked over to the wall and flicked on a small lamp in the corner. It was around this time that I got a really weird feeling that something was wrong. And before I even
This
got
is the
to look
time
at
you
the
realize
TV
something was
stand,
wrong.
I heard someone else behind me. Another man had come around the corner, standing next to Matt. He didn't say hello or anything. He just watched me. I was really unsure what to make of this, and didn't want to overreact right away, but was also getting really uncomfortable as that eerie feeling only grew larger.
This is why you hand him the
I was
money,
standing there,
grab
trying
the
to think of
freaking
what to say
stupid
or
table,
do,
and get out as
but
fast as
then
possible.
Matt walked past me and stood in front of the TV stand. They were now on either side of me, facing me and not speaking. Several long seconds passed as nobody spoke or moved, before I quickly walked past the other guy and down the hallway toward the front door. As I left, I heard them laughing in the room behind me like this
What
was
the frick?
funny, and as I got halfway to my car, the front door slammed shut.
What, so you went to go buy a freaking thing and then chickened out?
Maybe it was just some sick joke they were pulling, trying to get me to freak out. Or maybe it was something more sinister.
Or maybe they're both a bunch of drugged up, like, alcoholics that are just trying to sell their crappy furniture to get a little bit more money. They obviously don't live in the best of places from the look of it. Like, just freaking give them the money, grab the thing, and leave.
I don't plan on finding out, though. I was 23 and looking for a studio apartment to rent. I was fresh out of college and had almost no money to work with, only making a bit more than minimum wage. So
And yet you're looking for a studio apartment? Nah, son, you live with parents at that point. Where you live? California? Nah, son.
I could find.
Not even close. Not
At
even
first,
close.
I was looking for one bedroom and studios, but over the following weeks, it became apparent that that was just not in the budget. Reluctantly, I went onto Craigslist and looked at their section for housing.
The number one place to get
had
murdered.
some bad reputation, but one of my friends had a good experience and vouched for it, so I gave it a go. The first day of looking on Craigslist, I didn't find anything, though I got a bit of hope, seeing there were a lot of listings.
Luckily, the only thing I've really bought from Craigslist was a, what the frick do you call it? It's basically a machine that, like, lifts up the dirt in the ground, and it makes it a little bit easier to, like, plot new land, you know?
They just weren't in my area or price range.
I forgot what the name of it is, but I use it all the time on my property.
I think it was on the third or fourth day that I reloaded the website and found a new listing that piqued my interest. It was for a place a few miles away. I clicked on it and looked at all the details.
545 one-bedroom apartment. That's
Apartment
amazing.
building.
What?
The pictures were really
Bro,
low
you're not getting an apartment here where I live for at least, like, less than 1,300, bro. What do you mean?
Like
$800 is the cheapest I've seen for, like, the tiniest of tiny freaking spots.
I sent the owner a message. He replied quickly, and we scheduled a tour later that day around 7.
Just said, yeah, you can
From
come
our
on
quick
over,
back
just
and
as long as
forth,
you don't
I
check
saw
under the
nothing unusual
floorboards.
about this guy.
We'll be fine.
His
Also, there's a
messages were
smell.
very
Don't worry about the smell.
professional, and he seemed happy to
Aight?
show me
That's
the
the
place.
only rules.
A couple hours later, I got in my car and started driving over to the address he sent me. I should mention that I knew beforehand that this wasn't a very nice area of our city, but it's the cheapest area, and honestly I didn't think it was that bad. Though in hindsight, maybe I was just being naive because it was my only option. Anyway, I pulled up to this rather
What? A
old-looking apartment
23-year-old
building.
college graduate with
Parked on the
no
side of the
money
street
being
and got
naive?
out, texting the
Nonsense!
man
I've
that I'd
never heard
arrived
about that.
and walking up to the front door.
They're always the
I didn't
most
see the man
confident,
anywhere,
the most
so I
logical
buzzed the
thinking
room
people I've ever
and
met.
waited for a few seconds, then the door unlocked. I stepped in, greeted by a staircase in the middle and 2 rooms on either side. Before I even got to looking at the room numbers, a voice yelled from somewhere above the staircase, saying they were on the 3rd floor. Assuming the man was talking to me, I started walking
How are you
up.
on the 3rd floor,
At
and
this
yet you
point,
were
though,
somehow able to
I was
buzz him
beginning
in?
to wonder why he didn't meet me at the door.
Yeah, how
especially
was he
since
not
was
able to
so
buzz you in?
professional when
How was he
texting.
able to buzz you in if he's on the 3rd floor?
As I reached the top of the steps, there was a small hallway with 2 doors, one of which was open. I walked
Oh, that
over
must
and
be the
looked
apartment.
inside, seeing a
No,
man
no.
standing a few feet
No
away
barking.
and looking over at me. He greeted
Sorry about
me.
that, everyone. No. No, who are you barking at? Who do you think you're barking at? You know you don't bark at people on the street, no? You don't bark at people that come up to the door. That's not okay. Sorry, I'm trying to get him to stop barking at whenever there's someone at the door. It's not okay. It's
He shook my
the bigger
hand,
dog is fine
then
about it.
showed me
It's the younger
inside.
dog.
But immediately, I was confused. The place had a couch, TV, chairs, and even food on the counters. It was clearly lived in. Does someone else live here? I asked
Bro's like,
kindly.
yeah, I chill out here until
the man
somebody takes it
quickly
over.
replied with a short laugh and said no one lived here and everything would be gone by tomorrow. I
Yeah, no
smiled
one
and
lives
said
here. I just been
okay,
chilling
but that
here,
response didn't come
having
off the
some
right
Panda
way to me.
Express. Ooh, oh, bro,
He started leading
that's
me
the life
further
right there.
in, pointing out features of the place, but it suddenly came across me that this wasn't even a studio. There were
Why does he
multiple
look blazed
doors,
out of his
which
mind?
had to lead to other rooms. This was at least a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment, and there was no way the price could be what he said it was. It seemed like he noticed my suspicions as he stopped what he was saying and moved toward the hallway. He opened one of the doors that was clearly
Closet?
to a bedroom and
Oh.
started telling me to take a look inside. But before I could answer, we were interrupted when my phone chimed. I pulled it out of my pocket and checked.
It's gonna
who
be
it
the guy!
was. My face went pale, seeing it was from the man from Craigslist, asking where I was.
Oh!
I looked up in horror, realizing what had happened, and I could tell that whoever this guy was in front of me knew that I'd figured it out. This terrifying moment passed, and the guy didn't move or say anything. He just stood and looked at me with a blank stare. After a moment, I hurried out of there and down the stairs, not hearing the guy follow. I got in my car and left. Being so horrified, I never
What?
even
What about
texted
the freaking
actual
manager?
man back, as I was no
The
longer
Craigslist guy.
interested in staying anywhere near that place, and I didn't know if maybe he was in on it too somehow. But whoever that guy was that lured me into his home was so close to being able to probably abduct me. I don't know, and I don't even want to know, but I never opened Craigslist again after that night.
You didn't even contact the Craigslist dude? Like, hey, yo, neighbor, or what are your
I
freaking,
was
like,
on Craigslist for the first
you know what I
time
mean? Like
in
something,
probably
just like,
5 years.
I'm on the
I'd
3rd
forgotten
floor
about
right
the
now in this
site,
room. You want to come
never
on up
having
here and
any
explain
need
what the
or
frick
use
is going
for it,
on?
and never really hearing about it anymore.
Nah, son, I would
But
have
due to my moving
contact the Craigslist
situation,
guy. Like, you
I
get
needed
your
to get
butt
rid of a
up here
bunch of
right this
random
freaking
things.
second. I ain't playing.
I initially called a junk removal company, hoping they would just take everything, but their estimate was over $400 for getting rid of just a couple things. So
100.
that's when I went to Craigslist.
I'd rather
I put up a
freaking
listing
carry
for
it to
free
the
stuff and had pictures.
I'd rather
of
take
all
it to
the
the
things I
dump
was giving
myself.
away.
Just carry it to the dump yourself.
Maybe I just didn't know how it worked nowadays, but I thought I'd get a lot of responses from people wanting to pick up free stuff. However, I barely got any, and the ones that did respond to the listing ended up ghosting me after a couple texts. Then, about a week after making the listing, a man who introduced himself as KJ reached out. He said he wanted to pick up my couch and was good to do so on any day. I really thought this was just going to be the same as all the other people that reached out, so I didn't put much effort into getting this man to actually come pick up the couch. I let him know that I worked between 9 and 5, so if he wanted to pick it up, he could just let me know. Again, I didn't think he'd actually come. But sure enough, in the morning before work, he sent me a text saying he'd like to swing by tonight.
I'd like to swing it
great,
by tonight. That's what he
as
said.
I left work that
I
night,
read it.
I sent him my address. The drive home was only 20-ish minutes, but I'd hope he comes sooner rather than later because I didn't want to waste my night waiting on them, even more so if they didn't end up showing. When I pulled into my driveway though, a car was parked on the curb right next to my house. Nobody was in it, and it was the only car parked on the whole street, so it seemed clear that they were at my house. Thinking it was KJ, I quickly
Where do you live? What the frick, bro? I could never find parking right here where I live. It's always freaking full.
got out and ran up to my front door, but he wasn't there. It was in the back of my mind that this could be just some crazy coincidence, and the car was for someone else's house. But
yeah, it could have literally been somebody like across the street from you. Maybe they parked there because they were like, screw it, I'm not gonna U-turn it so I can park in front of your house. We're just gonna stay in front of your neighbors. You know
I
what I
wasn't
mean?
convinced. I got inside and sent a text to KJ asking what his ETA was. Then I stood by the window and looked outside. After 10 or so minutes, I still hadn't gotten a response. I didn't see anyone outside either, so I calmed myself down and turned away from the window. I went to the kitchen, pouring myself a drink and just standing there, when a small thud sounded from upstairs. Unaware of what it was, I put my drink down and listened. There were a few seconds of silence. Then suddenly, heavy footsteps were running down the stairs.
No freaking way! Bro really let himself in. Like, I don't worry. Bro's like, hey, I'm gonna come get your couch. I work from 9 to 5. Bro, don't stress it. I'll let myself in and I'll get it myself.
I just stood where I was and stared down the hallway.
Well, you're in the kitchen, grab a knife.
At the other end, running right to the front door. He swung it open and ran out. And when I made it to the front, he was already driving away in that car that was parked on the curb. I was still stunned, trying to process what happened because it was all so sudden and quick. Eventually, I got my phone out and called the police, then tried calling KJ, but he didn't pick up, which meant to me that it was definitely him who had broken in. When the police investigated, they found that KJ's phone wasn't registered to a name or address, so we were back to square one.
How? How does that work?
Nothing ever did come of it, despite me trying multiple times to get the police back on the case. As far as I know, nothing was stolen, so maybe he didn't have enough time, or he was waiting for me. Maybe that thud I heard was him accidentally giving himself away, so he took his chance to run now that he didn't have the surprise on me. But whatever really happened, all I can do is hope that he never comes back.
Meanwhile, KJ pretty much just showed up and was like, oh, look, the door's unlocked. I'll just go inside and see if he's here. He's not here. He's like, well, maybe I could just grab the couch or something, or I'll just wait for him. I don't know. Maybe, I think is he not here? Let me check and see if he's. Hello, are you upstairs? Anybody? The door's unlocked. I just let myself in. Is anybody home? And then you show up afterwards. He's like, oh, this gonna look like I'm a burglar. This gonna look like I broke in, huh? Oh, this looks bad. He's like, cried, and then he tripped and fell, and that was the thud, and then he had to run out of there. He's like, screw it, I don't even want the couch anymore. I mean, why else would he not steal anything, Well, what the frick? 3 OnlyFans horror story? What the frick is that? Hello! Thank you so much, primates, for watching this all the way to the end. Also, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, as well as hit the little bell for a rainbow explosion that will go ahead and notify you every single time we go live or put out new content. Thank you so much, goodbye, and thanks for swinging by.